Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Good to go. The Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council is now called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to this third meeting of the year for the Eden Prairie City Council. Just to let you know that we're continuing to be very vigilant with our COVID-19 policies and restricting and limiting ourselves. We do have some people in the audience tonight, and they are socially distanced and wearing masks. And we also here up at the council dais have not only masks, but we have these plastic poly barriers. So we want to make sure that you all know that we're taking this very seriously, as all of you are, and we're modeling as best we can. Just a brief note about Open Podium, which is something that normally in non-COVID times we have more people participating in. But Open Podium is an opportunity for Eden Prairie residents to address the City Council on issues that are related to Eden Prairie City government, usually though not directly connected to something in the meeting agenda. And these occur prior to each council meeting. Typically the council meetings are typically the first and third Tuesday of each month. The open podiums occur from 6:30 to 6:55 here in the council chamber. If you wish to speak at Open Podium, please contact the city manager's office at 952-949-8412 by noon of the meeting date with your name, phone number, and subject matter so we can be better prepared for you. If time permits, after scheduled speakers are finished, the mayor will open the floor to unscheduled speakers. Open Podium is not recorded or televised. If you have any questions about Open Podium, please do contact the city manager's office. Mr. Getcho, we have tonight a presentation. Do you want to give an introduction?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council members. As you know, we are in the midst of a major infrastructure project in Eden Prairie, and all the way to downtown Minneapolis. And so our Met Council Southwest Light Rail Transit Project Office is back again to provide an update. I believe they were here last summer. I think it was in an all virtual meeting environment that we received our last update, but they are back to talk about what has occurred in 2020 and what we look ahead to in 2021 and beyond. So we have Mr. Jim Alexander in charge of the project, and I believe Mr. James Mackoviak is also here as well, representing the Southwest Light Rail Project Office.
Excellent, welcome, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, and thank you, Mr. Geschow, for that introduction. Yes, I'm Jim Alexander, Project Director. Can you all hear me okay? I'll make sure I'm up to the microphone.
Yeah, I think they're turning the mic up. Just maybe get as close to the mic.
Okay, I'll just get close like that. Is that better?
Yes. Thank
Okay, you. I have a PowerPoint to run through, and I'm Jim Alexander, Project Director with Metro Transit, and been in charge of this project for quite some time, working closely with Mr. Ellis and his staff. So we're going to go through a project overview and talk about an update of the project. We have a couple of issues we need to talk about tonight that you've probably been seeing in the news, and do a recap on 2020 and get into 2021, and James will follow up with communications outreach update. So just kind of reminiscing from the distant past, familiar faces there. Back in November when we had a groundbreaking before we signed a contract with our civil contractor Just to kind of remind you folks, we're looking to build 14.5 miles. This is an extension of our green line that runs from St. Paul into Minneapolis, and this line will, of course, come on out to Eden Prairie, ending at Southwest Station. So this graphic is important for a piece I'm going to be talking about. We're kind of in the middle of things, as you can see, out in your streets. We have a lot of structure out of the ground now, and we will be embarking on, once that gets done, we'll be embarking on our systems contract, and I'll talk about that a little bit, how that plays in the issues that we have before us that I want to talk about. We ultimately get into safety, testing, and then revenue service. So just kind of a recap on 2020 activities there. We can see we're overall about 35% complete. Probably a little bit more so in Eden Prairie. We have a lot of bridge structure that's done, frankly, in this city. And I do want to thank you all for accommodating us. I know it's been a disruption with all the roadway kind of mess that we've created out there. We will continue to do that, but we really appreciate the city working with us to get that work done. It's very important we have that collaboration. So you see the stats here. We're well underway with most of the activities. One point, private utilities, 94% complete. That's a big milestone. Once we get to that point, we're on nearly 1,000 conflicts on that, so that's an important milestone there. And you can see down at the bottom, we have 11 light rail vehicles already delivered from California. Siemens is building those, building 27 vehicles for us. So I wanted to take a moment, Mr. Mayor and council members, to talk about two issues. One is what's called a corridor protection wall in Minneapolis, and the second is a secant wall. So I'll talk about the corridor protection to start. It's approximately 1 mile corridor protection wall in the eastern part of the project. And I'll just go ahead and get to a map here. And this is something we have known about as we got into this, got into our agreements with BNSF back in, really started in 2016, 17, and 18. But what we didn't have this incorporated into the project because we were still going through environmental review at the time we got bids. And so we went through, we got the environmental review done, and we need to add this as a change order. And we're seeing, as we're in negotiations with our contractor, that this may be a little more costly than we had anticipated, and we expected it quite possibly could impact our schedule. We're right in the middle of things, right, in terms of our negotiation with the contractors, so I don't have any numbers to give you today in terms of where we're at. But as soon as we get that sorted out, we will start talking about that out in the arena so everybody can understand where we are. So get a little more closer idea. This is, again, the eastern end of the project in Minneapolis, starting from Bryn Mawr Station, extends just to the east of 94 there, so a little over a mile that we're adding corridor protection. And this is kind of what it looks like down at the bottom. This is one of the challenges we're facing. We have to build this next to an active rail line. It's quite busy rail line, and you see our right-of-way isn't a lot of space there to do the work. So that's one of the challenges we're working with the contractor to figure out how best to get this piece incorporated into the project. I might pause there for a moment if there are any questions on this item. Mr. Mayor?
I don't, but council, anything?
I just have one quick question. You said you don't know how long this is going to delay things then?
Mr. Mayor, council member, that is correct. We're in the process of evaluating that. We have to not only sort out how long it's going to take for the civil contractor to do this work, but then that systems contract that comes on, we need to sort out how that schedule is going to fit in as well, because they can't really start the work until the civil is completed.
Okay, thank you.
So the other issue is what's called a secant wall, and this is related to the Kenilworth corridor and the tunnel we're building there. And I'll show you where that location is here. You can see in the kind of the red dot between the lakes there in Minneapolis. And what we had is we encountered soil settlement as we're installing the sheets that are used to support the tunnel, and I'll get to that here. On to the left here, you can see this is the original plan where we essentially have sheet pile walls on both sides of the tunnel itself. You can see what a sheet pile looks like in plan view down below. And as we were putting those sheets in, we found that we had to auger in front of the sheets to get the sheets into the ground. We encountered a lot of boulders, large material, and also the density of the soil just caused that. And the result of that, it created some settlement just adjacent to the tunnel itself. And the challenge, it's not shown on this graphic here, but if you can imagine just off to the screen on that original plan, off to the image there is a foundation for a series of foundations for a parking garage and a condominium building. It's about a 10-story high condominium building. We, out of abundance of caution, we didn't want to proceed with this method because we foresaw that we might see some settlement to that building or those buildings, and we felt that the buildings probably wouldn't withstand that type of ground movement. So we came up with this alternative method called the secant pile to essentially support those soils so we could prohibit that settlement from occurring. So essentially we're doing a similar method here to build the tunnel, but we just have a different method of supporting the soils on the right side. It's about a 500-foot section here you can see in light blue where that is located, where the darker band there is where the tunnel is located, just south of that channel between Cedar Lake and Lake the Isles, extending down towards Westlake Street Station. So we are currently finishing up our design on this, and we'll be seeking a change order through the civil construction contractor to get that done. And so this is another piece that we're taking a close look at. With these, kind of show you the last final image of what that looks like, just to kind of exhibit that the tunnel itself really remains the same. It's just that secant pile would be different along that 500-foot section. But what I wanted to focus here on, that's an image of what it would look like, not our project, but this is just an example off the web to see what that looks like. But what I wanted to focus here is that both of these elements are really major projects by themselves, and we're introducing this into the project that requires the contractor to build 14.5 miles to begin with. And so this is going to have an impact to the overall schedule. We don't know, again, what that impact is going to be, but our next steps to get there are we're going to be in the process of completing a change order for that corridor protection. And then on the secant wall, we'll be beginning negotiations with the contractor on a change order for that as well. And then we'll be looking at our schedule to see how things are impacted. And we're looking to have ways to streamline. For example, we're trying to open up more of the Eden Prairie area, since we have a lot of bridge structures done, to get our systems contractor out in this area earlier than normally anticipated, so we can get them out in the field earlier than we had thought. So that's one mitigation measure we're trying to take a look at, see if we can pan that out. But we will communicate as we understand more about our situation, and certainly I know everybody's interested, as we are, as to when revenue service is going to be. But as we're looking at 2023, our original date, I can tell you tonight it's not going to happen in 2023, but I can't tell you beyond that until we have more understanding of our negotiations and the analysis we're going to do, or we're currently doing. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll pause there for a moment if there are any questions.
You answered mine with the dating. Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Toomey and then Councilmember Narayan.
So I have a question about cost. Like, how much more is this going to cost than the original estimate?
Mr. Mayor, council members, we don't have that number tonight. And that's something we, as part of a negotiation, will have with our contractors to sort out how much that's going to be.
And then this is just a follow-up on that. I know that you just said you don't have the number, but will that money come out of the reserve that was set aside for extra costs? I think I read somewhere that there was like 200 million put aside for extra.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council Member, we started construction with about 12% contingency. We're around the 10% mark, and we would hope that we could use that contingency to do this. At this juncture, we don't know if that's going to be enough to fit the bill or not. That's something we'll have to be taking a look at.
Thanks.
Councilmember Narayan.
Thank you, Mayor. When do you estimate all the construction in Eden Prairie completed? May not be the whole 14 miles, but at least completed in Eden Prairie side of it.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember, I actually had that question from another city last night, and I really just kind of gave a guess because I don't have that necessarily slated. But as I say, overall, we think we're about 35% physically built on the civil. I would say it's probably a little bit more for here, since we have some major bridges already done: the Prairie Center Drive Bridge, the Valley View Bridge, and the 9 Mile Creek Bridge are well along, and we're going to start putting beams up on the Trunk Highway 212 bridge. So, and the stations are fairly well along as well compared to the other areas. So maybe in the 40% range.
So when do you think all the piling will be done? That's one of the key feedback we get, noise, right? How do you get to the noise level down so, you're not pounding at 6 o'clock in the morning or in the afternoon? I don't know sure exactly the time, but do you have any estimation of that?
Mr. Mayor, council members, maybe you could hold till I get to a slide, because I do have an image that talks to that, and maybe we could walk through that and talk about where we are and where we
So
need
why
to be.
don't you finish the whole thing, then we can ask the questions, probably better.
Pardon, I didn't catch that.
He just suggested go ahead and finish, and then we'll ask questions
Okay.
at the end.
Okay, sure. All right. So let's go through a 2020 recap quickly here. Just wanted to show you some images. This is out at Southwest Station, and a lot of piles. We have nearly 27 miles of piles here all told. We're about 66 or about almost 70% done with the piling. So this is one area where there'll still be piling activity this year, possibly going into 22, but we hope the bulk of it gets done in 21. I did talk to Mr. Simich today, just kind of check in. We do that periodically, where he's kind of slowed down at this location due to the COVID situation, but we seem to be working pretty well together at this location. Just kind of turn yourself around and looking east, the Prairie Center Drive Bridge. Work is still underway at both these locations, Southwest Station and Prairie Center Drive Bridge, through the winter. Folks are finishing up work up on the deck there. And just wanted to show off a little artwork that the city had introduced into the project. Town Center Place, a lot of work done. The guideway for the light rail will be off to the left. We'll be looking to start working on that later in this year. See a retaining wall off to the south side there. And Eden Prairie Town Center Station starting to take shape there. And looking up, flying down south, Flying Cloud there with retaining walls off the side with the hotels there. Guideway will be off to the right. And another one of our significant bridges, the LRT bridge over Valley View Road. And work earlier this summer past summer on 9 Mile Creek Bridge, where we go over Flying Cloud Drive. And Golden Triangle Station, that's well underway, and the bridge structure you can't kind of tell, but it heads on up to Shady Oak Road there and over to 212, and that's that bridge, LRT bridge over the Shady Oak and 212 there. And lastly, just an image of the tunnel construction. We've completed essentially the northern or the eastern half of the tunnel, and the contractor's starting to do some work on the south side of 62 to complete that tunnel segment this year. So in terms of construction highlights, I'll go quickly through some word slides here and get to a map to kind of working from west to east. But Southwest Station, we will continue with piling. As I indicated, we're 66-70% done, but we still have quite a bit more piles to go, and just soft soils up there require that. The following bridges, we have either deck work and or finishing details, and as we saw there, the Prairie Center Drive is well along there, and the LRT bridge over 494. We will be doing some work on the roadway bridge itself for a rehab on the surface there, and Valley View Creek Road you saw is well along, 9 Mile as well. And the station will be, talk about the phase 3 and phase 4 work activities we'll have on Flying Cloud Drive when we get to the map here. And just continuing our work on the stations, or the station at Golden Triangle and that and the 212 bridge, and a lot of retaining walls that need to be done in City West Station leading up to that tunnel portal on the south side of 62, and of course the tunnel segment itself. And we do look forward to starting to put LRT track starting the west end and moving to the east. So we're kind of getting ourselves set up to get that on these major bridges that we're working on right now. So here's a map we put together to kind of talk about the construction highlights. It's not intended to capture everything, but we really wanted to try to point out where there's going to be pile driving activities. We'll put this map on our website, and we'll share it with the city as well to share. And where you see the blue diamond, that's where we anticipate having more pile driving going on Southwest Station. Going over to Eden Prairie Town Center, there's going to be a little bit of driving activity from sheet piling, but not really too extensive. Nothing compared like to Southwest Station, but it's for some retaining walls in that location. Other areas of pile driving, we still have, excuse me, we still have 2 piers and an abutment to do on that north end of the 212 bridge. As you see, you get towards City West, and then as we are at City West, we'll have some sheet pile work associated with some of the retaining wall work we have to do. So we're trying to do our best to get word out when piling activity is going to happen. We know it's a disruption for folks. We're doing our best. James does a pretty yeoman's effort to get the word out when things are happening, and coordinating with the city on that. We realize it is disruptive to hear that pounding going on, and we hope to get it done as soon as we can. Other highlights on here, just where you see marks in red, that's where certain roadway closures are going to happen. Up at Flying Cloud, we have a phase 3 and phase 4. So phase 3, we essentially have the road completed on the west side for that southbound, and we'll shift traffic onto. We'll be working on the east side this year for that phase 3. We don't have a time yet in terms of how long that's going to take. We'll see how that runs through the summer here. Very likely could go into the fall. Quite a bit of work still needs to be done. But once that is done, the phase 3 will move to phase 4, where there's some interior work on the inside lanes. But we won't have a full closure itself, but there will be full closures during that phase 3 for those ramps to get on and off 494, which was some of that we had a little bit this previous year. Up at 70th, we'll have to close that off again. We have it temporarily open, but we still need some work needs to get done there, and the LRT guideway needs to be brought across there. So that's going to be a closure. And then up at as you're going southbound or westbound on 212 and taking the exit ramp to Shady Oak Road, that will be closed while we do that work along City West. Just the access is really a challenge to get in that area. It's just very limited. So we're working very closely with the city and the DOT, MnDOT, to get that all figured out in terms of making the traffic flow through there. So I might just pause there for a moment if there are any questions.
Council?
I have another one. Is the period of the construction, the residents call and complain, is that kind of settled down, or is still the rate of complaints going up, going down?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember, maybe I could reserve that for James, because he's got a handle on the hotline calls, and I think he has a couple of slides that he'll come up and talk to that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Hold on that time. Okay. I think that might be it for me. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to take them. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to James.
No, appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
Oh, I'd just like to add, anytime you'd like us to come down to give updates, we'd be happy to do it, whether your workshop or full council method.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I am James Mackoviak, the Outreach Coordinator for Eden Prairie. Like Jim indicated, we've just got a few slides about some of the statistics and some of the strategies we're using, best practices of what we've learned in the last 2 years working in Eden Prairie. Okay, the first slide, 2020, construction communications. As you can see, our Weekly construction updates have been very popular. It's just been one of the best resources for sharing corridor-wide construction work that's been going on, city by city, section by section. And we have over 16,000 subscribers and a 46% open rate. The 24-hour construction hotline has also been very effective. We invite people to call for really any reason. It's specifically set up for construction, for people who have specific, emergencies, but we are very happy to receive non-urgent calls as well from folks. And we get people who've called and just ask us what the LRT is. So we're very, very happy to hear from them, very happy to respond to them. We usually get back to them within 24 hours. If it's urgent, just so you know, those phone calls go directly to the contractor if it's an urgent construction matter, and they handle those usually within a few hours. And if it's an email request of some kind, goes to one of the three coordinators, and it just takes less than 24 hours usually to get to them. But this year in 2020, to Councilmember, to your question, we had 45 calls from Eden Prairie residents, and I think that probably is a little more than we had the previous year. It's been fairly steady, but I would say in the last, 3 or 4 months, of course, we're in the winter season, so we don't have the same level of construction. The number of calls is dropped considerably. But in addition to the calls, we still get people who email us directly and people who call us directly, and we've got hundreds of additional hotline calls and emails from, directly from community members who have bypassed the 24-hour line. And then what we started early last year was a construction information work group. We call them CIWs. We have one in every city. And the purpose, again, is to gather with committee members who are each nominated by the cities, people who would be willing to meet once a month and sit down with us and ask hard questions and help engage us in what they perceive are ways we can maybe do our job better, and maybe ask questions on behalf of community organizations that they represent. And I think so far that's gone really well. We have about 7 or 8 pretty active members here in Eden Prairie, and we met 8 times. We didn't meet 12 times. During the holidays, we slowed that meeting time down, and there were occasions during the year where people felt like there was enough information the previous month, and we skipped a month. 2020 lessons learned. Again, broadly communicating potential impacts, and especially staying out front of those impacts. To Jim's point earlier, we have obviously a lot of construction work that affects the roads, that requires detours, that can get somewhat complicated, and that requires a lot of advance notification. So we get out there in the field, even though it was COVID, we still get out there in person, right? Visiting, whether it's an apartment complex or any number of the stakeholders that we are regularly affected by our work. And then in addition to that, of course, emails, it's posted on our line, it goes through our construction hotline as well, and we get all that information out as effectively as we can, but try to get that out in advance. And then, of course, included with some of that communication are maps and other visuals of those construction activities to help communicate not only what to expect, but what we're doing. People really appreciate the explanations of what's going on in specifically. They're hearing, to your point, council member, they're hearing noise and they're saying, what is that? And why is the boom of the crane in this area? So those are all ways we try to mitigate that. And then community members, again, appreciated targeted messages to distinct parts of the corridor. Obviously, to 14.5 miles, there's different work activities going on, right, at different levels in different locations throughout the corridor. So we try to keep that specific to targeted audiences. And then concerns persist about construction noise and vibration. Again, to point that Jim mentioned earlier, there was 2020 was the heavy year for piling and noise and disturbance here. We put those 4 bridges up essentially, including the I-494 overpass. But to his point, we basically have tip to tail, we have Southwest Station piling going on. We have done, as Jim indicated, 66 to 70% of that piles down there. This year, we anticipating, as to my understanding, another 10 to 15%, so it's a lot less of an active rate of piling. And then the other side, we just have these 2 piers and an abutment on the north side of the Shady Oak Bridge, which I think total is probably less than 30 piles to do that. And in addition, structure, the SOE, supportive excavation work, that just gets vibrated in, and there's really a short impact. So there's going to be a lot of more of that activity around the retaining wall work, around City West Station, all the way down to that corner of the Shady Oak Bridge, and we'll be focusing outreach on that. And then lastly, of course, safety remains a key concern, and that's obviously a big concern for the Southwest Light Rail, staying out in front of safety concerns, right? Being able to communicate safety messages out to the community. And then thinking the last slide here, our 2021 community engagement focus. We want to create what to expect in site tour videos. One of the things that we are going to do probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks is a virtual town hall meeting. And in that town hall meeting, we are working on a video which shows some moving pictures. It's more like a 2 or 3 minute news clip from the nightly news, where you have these really nice moving images throughout Eden Prairie, and it's narrated and explains the construction process and what people can expect this year. So that'll be something that we'll launch. In addition, if there is some relaxation of the COVID restrictions, we expect to try to create site tours, maybe once a month in the summertime, for people who'd like to just go through the corridor in Eden Prairie and maybe get on in the field. We have vests and helmets and masks and everything, and glasses that people need to do that. And we've got a plan to execute that. That was originally part of our outreach plan. We'd like to revisit that if we're able to do that. And then we will continue meeting, of course, with the construction information work groups. And then, of course, returning as quickly as possible to more public in-person engagement when it's possible, more group meetings where we can put placards up and get to meet people, and then go out again as we had in the past to different venues, schools, and homes, some of the residents' homes in Eden Prairie, and provide people the information that they need. And then lastly, you've seen this slide before. These are the number of options for people to continue to stay updated with us. And that is the end of the presentation. So if you have any outreach or communication related questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Council. Councilmember Narayan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say I'm very excited to see this finish. It is very important project for Eden Prairie, and as everybody know, personally, I'm looking forward to opening and taking that first ride.
Yeah.
So
Well, we appreciate
don't delay too much, please.
No, we will definitely be on that train with you on that first ride, and be equally as excited about that. So I appreciate that support. We appreciate Eden Prairie's support, and I appreciate very much just on behalf of the outreach department, right? The proactive and consistent support we've gotten from your staff. They've been fabulous to work with.
Great, good to hear.
Appreciate that a lot.
Councilmember Nelson, I can't see you. Do you have any questions or comments? Up there I can. Are you good? Well, you're on mute, I think.
Still mute.
Right, I'm sorry.
Great, excellent.
All right.
All right, thank you so much for coming out. It's important for our community to stay updated, educated, and communicated with, so we appreciate, as well as us. We might want to this summer, again, depending on COVID, to take a little pre-meeting or workshop excursion and just visit with all of you, maybe on site of one of the stations or something. So that might be a good thing that we can have our staff connect with you later on. All right. Mr. Getro, anything else with that? Should we move on? All right. We do have approval of agenda here. Anybody that wishes to add anything or to question any items, change up anything? Anyone have any changes at all? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Freiberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Narayan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson. Aye. Councilmember Toomey,
Aye.
And Mayor Case.
oh, Mayor Case.
Yes. Sounds like. Aye. No, that's good. You're good. I was just so excited. Everyone's giving me the thumbs up here, like I remembered the roll call. So I was pretty tickled about that. All right, minutes. Is there anyone that has any questions or items to correct on the minutes? Councilmember Toomey, you're the one that read them all, so are we good?
They're perfect.
All right, way to go. Then I would entertain a motion to approve both of them at the same time, if
I
someone...
move to approve the following city council minute. Council workshop held Tuesday, January 19, 2020. City council meeting held Tuesday, January 19, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Freiberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Narayan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson. Aye. Councilmember Toomey,
Aye.
Mayor Case.
All right, aye. Thank you so much. Consent calendar, A to J. Anyone have any items that they wish to question, pull temporarily, talk about? Anyone? Councilmember Nelson, I don't see you regularly on this screen, so just if you do want my attention, just please speak up. There you go.
Yeah, no, I don't see you right now.
Okay, well, just letting you know that get verbal on us here, and we'll acknowledge you. All right. So, is there a motion then to approve the consent calendar items A to J?
I will move to approve the items A to J on the consent calendar.
Is there a second? Okay, Councilmember Nelson seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Freiberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Narayan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson. Aye. Councilmember Toomey,
Aye.
Mayor Case.
Aye. All right, we have no public hearings this evening. Moving down to payment of claims. Anybody have any questions about any of the long list of bills that were paid, the expenditures, payment of claims? Anyone have any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve the payment of claims?
I move the approval of payment of claim as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Freiberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Narayan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson. Aye. Councilmember Toomey,
Aye.
Mayor Case.
Aye. Council or Mr. Getchell, is there anything else to come before the council this evening? Nothing. So Mr. Getchell informed us down at the workshop this evening to not get too used to these shorter meetings, that we have some, let's see, I'm trying to think of the good adjectives, not necessarily fun, because sometimes controversial is not fun, but definitely we earn our money more. So we have some longer meetings up in our future coming up in the next month or two. So this just happens to be one of the shorter ones this evening. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn this city council meeting February 2nd?
I'll move to adjourn the city council meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Freiberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Narayan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson. Aye. Councilmember Toomey,
Aye.
Mayor Case.
Aye. You say that with such gusto now. That's kind of fun. So thank you. You do such a good job, by the way. I don't know if people compliment you regularly, but thank you so much. Night after night, you're council meeting after council meeting, you're here. All right, this meeting is adjourned.